So if you're in your 20s and you're stressed out about, or maybe even your 30s, and you're stressed out about being in the right career, whether you're in the right career or not, or the right marriage or relationship or not, or the right religion or not, there's a reframe that I think that you should have and some context that you should carry with you when debating these decisions and trying to figure this out. The first thing I want you to consider is, especially with things like religion, lifestyle, and the boxes that you need to check, right? So basically, the set of beliefs that were handed to you as a child, beliefs, right? So not facts, the beliefs that were handed to you as a child that were presented to you as facts, right? Like this is just the way things are. This is the way life goes. This is what happens after you die. This is what you need to do to be happy. This is what goals will make you fulfilled in life. All of that stuff, all that roadmap stuff. What are the odds? You know your parents better than I do. What are the odds that they nailed it? Okay. What are the odds that the roadmap your parents gave to you is exactly right? Okay, there are billions of people on the planet. There are so many different ideologies, different maps of life, different approaches to life. You know your dad, you know your mom. Do you think that their perception of life and the consequent roadmap that they constructed, that they handed to you, is flawless? Just nailed it first try? Now, I'm saying it like this because the obvious answer is probably not. In fact, they maybe didn't even author that life map. Maybe they got given that life map from their parents who got it from their parents. So in reality, is this life map that you're getting from somebody 200 years ago or 100 years ago or 50 years ago? Is that the life map that is going to bring you fulfillment? And here in 2026, where the world looks unrecognizable from the world 50 years ago, or 100 years ago, or 200 years ago. So, this sort of like, hey, get a job, get a house, get married, and you'll be happy, or follow these sets of cultural customs and you'll be happy. If that roadmap that is from a time that's unrecognizable to this time, that's been passed down through generations, through your parents onto you, that plan is likely not flawless. Let's put it that way. And so you as a 20, 30-year-old, whatever, you might be 50, you don't need to have any shame when it comes to questioning that roadmap. Okay. And oftentimes the only reason people would feel shame when questioning that roadmap is because the people that passed on the roadmap feel very attached to it, right? They feel very defensive of it, like it needs to be true. And of course, they feel that way. That's the map they followed. Of course, they have to feel like it's right because if they let themselves believe that maybe it's not right, it might fill them with regret about the different opportunities they've passed up along the way and the different times where they stuck to the map instead of exploring something off the map, something that their parents didn't say to them. Okay. So, as someone in your 20s or your 30s, and you're feeling all this pressure to be a certain way, I want you to keep in context that what you were handed as the map of life is likely flawed, maybe majorly, maybe minorly, but it at least merits your scrutiny, your skepticism, and put it to the test, right? You can put it to the test. If it's not working for you, you don't need to experiment in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s before you're a 60-year-old man and think that you're finally worthy of going, no, this doesn't work for me. I'm going to choose my own way in life. 60 is a little late. It's not too late, but that's a lot of life gone by. At 20 years old, at 25, at 30, at 35, at 40, you are perfectly, it's perfectly reasonable for you to scrutinize that plan, to line it up against your own personal experience of life and go, is this working for me or is it not? And worthy enough to make a decision if it's not working for you. You don't have to wait to be an old man. You don't have to wait to be 60. You can be 25. And guess what? If you're wrong, you can find that out too, and you can make another change. Okay. There's not much need for a roadmap right now when you're in your 20s. Okay. It's time for you to, sure, pursue different goals and aspirations that people have suggested to you, but notice the impact it's having on you, notice the impact it's having on your relationships. Okay. So that's about the roadmap. Now let's talk about the relationship. Maybe you're married, maybe you're not, maybe you're in a relationship, maybe you're not. When we talk about marriage, we're typically talking about a lifelong commitment. Okay. So if you're between the ages of 18 and 26, you don't even have a fully developed brain, which means your ability to understand yourself or life is not even fully, your executive functioning isn't fully there. Okay. I have no problem saying between those ages is a poor time to choose a lifelong partner, right? That is like asking a preschooler to declare a major for college. It's just the odds that they get that right. Again, let's just talk about odds. It's very low. Not saying it doesn't happen. It happens all the time. You know people, I know people. It's very rare. Okay. So around 26, depending on your gender and and a few different things, your prefrontal cortex is developed. Okay. You have a full set, you got a full brain. Now it's time to start to work with it for a little while, to use it for a little while, and to figure out what is my understanding of myself and my life and my family and my history and what I've been through, given that I now have this full set of executive functioning equipment. Okay. And then is a better time to choose a life partner, right? But regardless of what you're doing, choosing a life partner, choosing a car to drive, choosing a major, choosing a brand of clothing that you want to wear, if it's a lifelong commitment, the odds that you nail it your first try are very low, especially if you have not been in any sort of a long-term committed relationship prior to your late 20s or 30s. The odds that you, with zero or little minimal experience, step into a lifelong decision and nail it the first try is very low. Okay. Now, it's funny because I'm a life coach, wannabe therapist sort of deal. My background is in economics. Okay. And I think that helps me because when I look at things, I want to look at what's actually true, not what's kosher or non-offensive or sort of culturally supported, but just what works, what doesn't work, what's true and what's not true. And statistically, the odds that you nail it with your career and your partner the first try, it's low, right? It would be low if we were playing cornhole, that your first toss makes it on the board. And that's just a meaningless yard game. But relationships and how complex relationships are, and picking a lifelong partner, the odds you nail that on your first toss of the beanbag or whatever, it's very, very low. Okay. Now, maybe I'm feeling intense or skeptical, but here's the reason why I'm sharing all of this. You need to know that so that you can take the pressure off and relax. Your 20s need to be filled with experiments, not commitments. You need to be trying things and noticing whether it's working for you or not working for you. You do not need to be making blind, ignorant, lifelong commitments that 30-year-old you and 40-year-old you and 50-year-old you, who all know more than you, are going to be bound by. Okay? Those versions of you have a more developed brain than you. Letting the 23-year-old make decisions for everybody, it's an unwise choice. It's unlikely to succeed. Okay? In your 20s, you need to be experimenting, not committing. Be disciplined, be consistent, show up, work hard, stay committed. I'm not saying smoke weed and jerk off all the time, but I'm saying experiment, gather data, experiment, gather data, experiment, gather data. At your current age, you have no data. Your data is so limited. Don't go making a giant life choice off of that. And if you had, don't be afraid of chalking it up as a mistake. If you're a few years into a career or relationship and you're learning, oh my word, this is not what I want. It's okay to say, hey, friends, family, partner, coworkers, boss, my bad. I thought this is what I wanted. I've learned it's not what I want. And that's okay, right? They can handle it. This is your life. Now, this is coming from somebody that this is obviously my story. I made a commitment to a career early in life. I made a commitment to a woman early in life. I made a commitment to a God early, very early in life. And as I grew and progressed, my own perception of the world revealed to me that neither of those three commitments were very supportive or functional for me. And as I fought tooth and nail to remove myself responsibly and respectfully from each of those commitments, my life has improved dramatically. I'm 28 years old. The odds that I make a lasting commitment anytime soon it's very, very low because I feel like my eyes are open in the sense of being, I don't know if it's desensitized enough to say that at this phase of my life, I don't know shit. I am learning. I'm a student. I just don't know much. And that's okay, right? It's okay to go make mistakes. It's okay to change your major. It's okay to tell somebody that you want to break up and you want to move on to a new relationship. It's okay to think that you don't want a relationship at all. All of these things can change. But my goal here is to remove pressure from you. If you're in your 20s or 30s, even relax. Okay. You are in the infancy of your experience here in life. Don't make giant committal decisions that are going to influence that you're going to be subjected to for the rest of your life. Okay. You are a beginner. It's okay to admit that you're a beginner, that you're a rookie, that you're an amateur, and to act like it and ask lots of questions. And I hope that you do ask lots of questions. Anyways, this is advice I needed to hear. I don't know why in the world I felt so much pressure at such an early age to make these enormous lifelong commitments. Now that I'm 28, I'm not even old, I'm just 28. I go, what the heck were those adults in my life thinking? But I was in my early 20s. I'm a baby, right? And so this is the advice that would have helped me. So if you're in your 20s or 30s, relax, ask questions, don't make commitments, learn information. Anyways, I hope that you find this helpful and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to follow along. I coach people through building lives that they love. I coach people through getting in touch with themselves and learning about themselves regardless of what they've been taught or told. And if that's something that you need, feel free to email me using the link in my channel profile. And I'll talk to you soon.